Joe Biden is not my... You guys already know. What's up, guys? It is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. It is Super Tuesday today. I know you guys don't want me to talk about that. 90-something% of you guys don't like when I talk about politics. And that's fine, because I do this channel for you guys. When I do political videos, you guys just don't like it. You guys don't like talking about politics. And hey, I do it for you. Anyways, that is today's block height. There's a lot of volatility going on. Let's talk about Bitcoin's volatility. Obviously, Bitcoin hit its all-time high and then crashed back down. I don't know what the price is right now. I just checked it this morning. I was like, wow, hit the all-time high, then it crashed down. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because I tell you, man, if you don't have your fundamentals down in Bitcoin and you don't understand it, it's going to be a wavy boat. It's going to be very volatile out in the sea. And speaking of that, I've made this analogy before, but I used to be in the Navy. My first assignment was a very small ship. It was called the USS Grasp, G-R-A-S-P. That ship was a 100-man ship. It was very small, very, very small. And when we were out to sea, and when it was any kind of volatility in the sea, it would just go crazy and everybody would start getting seasick. And then I got stationed on another ship after that a couple of years later called the USS Wasp, W-A-S-P, like a wasp, like a bee. And that ship was more stable. Even when we're out in more volatile waters, that ship just stayed the same because it was a lot bigger. That's what's going on. That's partly what's going on with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is, relatively speaking now, in the big ocean of money, there's like 900 something trillion, a quadrillion dollars, something like that. And we're only a $1 trillion asset. So it's a tiny fraction of what's going on. I know it's a big deal to us, but a lot of people don't understand it. They just don't. And when you're dealing with a brand new asset with millions and billions of people, hundreds of millions and billions of people that just don't understand it, they're going to trade in and out. It's as simple as that. And that's why it's volatile. But you have to understand the basics of Bitcoin. That's why I tell you guys to study it. Michael Saylor did a talk this weekend talking about the levels of Bitcoin, and there they are. You know, I would take it a step further. There's levels to each level. I sold Bitcoin. I was volatile. I was in all 5 of those stages, except I was even one before that. Denier, I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea. But I guess he's saying once you know what it is, then you're a denier, blah, blah, blah. Those are the only people who are really going to buy it. Probably those 5 people. Even the deniers buy it, I'm telling you. It depends on where you're at. I sold Bitcoin a couple of times in my first, I think it was 2 or 3 months. I sold it and I bought some silver with it because Bitcoin was up and silver was down, and I needed some silver and I didn't have a lot of dry powder. So I went ahead and sold a few bucks of Bitcoin. I took my profits, didn't understand Satoshis at the time, and 1 Satoshi is 1 Satoshi. Didn't understand that. I was thinking in dollar terms and ounces of silver. And I did that, and that was a big, big mistake because I didn't have my fundamentals down. It takes a long, long time to understand that kind of stuff. Guys, this is what you need to understand. There are going to be trillions of dollars coming into Bitcoin. It may not happen in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but it's happening slowly but surely, but it's happening even faster. I don't know if you guys know this or not. And this is after, I believe, Monday's numbers. GPTC only has 415,000 Bitcoin left, starting off at 619,000. They've sold over 200-something thousand Bitcoin. The new 9 that got the Bitcoin ETFs passed, they have over 361,000 Bitcoin themselves. BlackRock has over 170,000 or 71,000 around Bitcoin themselves. To put that in perspective, MicroStrategy has 193,000 Bitcoin in 3.5 years. They've done it in less than 40 days of trading. So again, there's sovereign wealth, I believe, is coming in. There's people buying. But the reason why the price hit the all-time high and went down, because there were a lot of people that are ready to sell once it hit the high, because they're thinking in fiat terms. They're thinking of, quote unquote, taking profits. I mean, it's sad, but it's the process that we have to go through for people to understand that they made a mistake, because I get upset about it a little bit. But again, I did it. I sold a couple times for silver, and people don't understand and don't know that Bitcoin is the #1 asset in the world. It just is. They don't know that because you have to put the work in to know that. It takes a lot of hours to try to get a grasp and understand it. When I mean try, I'm still trying to get a grasp on it. But the little that I know, and it took me a while, okay, because I still was clouded with the precious metals you know, my silver and my platinum and all that other stuff, and in the beginning with gold too, that Bitcoin is the way. Bitcoin is the hardest money in the world. That's why when I was selling silver for Bitcoin, the more and more I started understanding, the more and more I sold, I started selling the generic stuff, the stuff that wasn't hard. And I held on to the hardest silver, which was Engelhardt's, Johnson Matthey, Constitutional Silver, Silver Towns, vintage type of silver they weren't making anymore. But then once I realized that, holy crap, even as hard as this silver is, it's nowhere anything near Bitcoin. Bitcoin is generational changing wealth. And it ain't just because of that. I didn't invest just because of that. I invest because I'm trying to change the world, man. That's why I took a whole year off, because of all the stuff that's going on with our country and what's going on with Bitcoin. I believe that it helps us. So don't worry about the volatility, guys. It's all psychological, man. It just is. And people out here think that, hey, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and look at the chart when it's up. But right now, I'm telling you, people I think they had buys in for when it hit the all-time high, they're going to sell. And they're thinking about fiat currency. There is no better asset. There's nothing better that you can put your money into or your hard-earned energy into than Bitcoin.
A lot of people have accused Bitcoin of being a pump and dump scheme, but when you really get into the rabbit hole, right, and you start to understand the nature of money, the history of money, the desired properties of money, I think you come to this realization that Bitcoin simply cannot be a pump and dump scheme because there's no better asset to dump it into.
Correct.
It's a pump scheme. It just goes up.
What I'm asking you guys to do is this, and I say this all the time. I told you my 3 rules to Bitcoin. I said study Bitcoin, buy it, and then repeat. I also want you to add another step. I want you to study, buy, and I want you to tell others. Because once you tell somebody something, when you learned it, it's once taught, twice learned. I told you guys about that before. Just look at the charts, and yeah, it's volatile. And Bitcoin University said this, Matthew Crater said this morning, that you cannot have a successful asset without having volatility. And that's true, you can't. When you look at the chart, what's it doing? It's up and to the right. It just is. So what I need you guys to do is study, man. Study Bitcoin, all right? Don't listen to me. Don't trust me. Verify. Read the Bitcoin books. I got a list of them in my description box to tell you which ones to order and stuff. Listen to the podcast. Watch YouTube videos. The reason why I say study, because you need to build a foundation underneath so you're not worried about the quote-unquote volatility. You'll learn and understand it. You know how I look at volatility, to be honest? I look at it as a buying opportunity when it goes low, just like your precious metals. When it goes low and it goes high, I'm like, dang it. I'm happy and sad because when I look at my daily buys and I look at my how many Satoshis I'm getting versus what I did the day before when the prices go up, I'm just like, dang it. But we need the price to go up for mass adoption of Bitcoin. And it's just gonna go up. It's like a beach ball. You try to push a beach ball in the water and you try to push it down, it always goes up. You know how many times they've written that Bitcoin is gonna die? You guys need to get your fundamentals down. I used to have a NBA channel. I used to talk about basketball, and I know you probably know Tim Duncan. And the reason Tim Duncan was great is because he wasn't fancy. He just wasn't. He just had his fundamentals down. They called him Mr. Fundamentals. In order to be great at something and know something, you got to know the basics and the fundamentals of them. So that way, when something quote unquote bad happens in the market, you won't look at it as, oh man, it's going down, or oh man, what happened? It crashed down. I already know when I seen that chart today and I seen it go down, my diamond hands or my Satoshi hands or whatever you want to call them, we're just like, okay, I already know. People just don't understand. It's part of the game, but I know the end result. And the end result is Bitcoin's going to be the standard, man. There's 4 stages of money. First is a collectible. That's what Bitcoin was in the beginning for a lot of these libertarian and cyberpunk guys. Then it moved to, okay, this is pretty cool. Maybe we can use it as a store of value. And we're in that stage now. But now we're moving into the medium of exchange. That's the 3rd stage. Slowly but surely. And then over the next 30 to 50, 60 years, I believe, will be the standard. We'll be a global standard of the world. I just believe that. And fiat currency is the first money, quote unquote, to skip those steps, right? It wasn't a collectible at first. It just was brought in there and made it. They forced it down our throat. Usually we pick up money, seashells, salt, gold, silver, those big rocks on that island, whatever. We pick that. Of the people, for the people, by the people. And that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the greatest asset, monetary asset, and money that's we've ever seen. It just is. And the reason why it's so crazy to understand it or hard to understand it is because it's the first investment that's a money and an investment at the same time. It's literally money, it's currency. When you buy Bitcoin, it's just like going to Spain or Italy or Russia and taking your US dollars and trading it in and seeing what the exchange rate is. That's what Bitcoin is. The thing is, what we have forgotten is that money is supposed to be a store of value, but because it's not US dollars and other fiat currencies, we forget one of the basic cores of money was a store of value, and we can't do that anymore. So we can't just put our US dollars or rubles in the bank and keep your purchasing power. You just can't do that. But with Bitcoin, you can, right? You put it in, put it away, and not only does it keep its value, but your value increases over time. That's the first money we've ever had do that, even with gold. Gold's job was to what? Keep your value, which is great. Gold was great for thousands of years. But now in the digital world with all this technology, we got a new sheriff in town. A lot of people call Bitcoin the digital gold. It is partly, that's just a small sliver, but it's a lot of things, man. It's coming. Bitcoin is coming as a store of value king, and it's going to take a lot of value out of all these assets you see here. It's just going to suck them dry, man. It just is. So when you see the volatility, while it's sucking all of that liquidity out of these assets, these store of value assets, these stocks, equities, bonds, real estate, gold, all these things, because these things are used as a store of value because, again, our dollar doesn't keep it. But Bitcoin is money at the end of the day. It is money for the internet.
If I were to ask all of you in the audience, what is Bitcoin? I might get as many answers as there are you. So what is Bitcoin? If we zoom out, which I recommend doing, from a bird's eye view, in 3 words, Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is money.
The US dollars are money for the United States. Rubles are the money for Russia. Every country has its money, but Bitcoin is the money for the internet. It's for everyone. If you have a phone and an internet connection, you can have Bitcoin as your money, as your savings technology, your money, and a store of value, and an investment all at the same time. You just can. So is it going to be volatile? Absolutely. On the way up. Of course it is. But at the end of the day, you need to know your fundamentals. Like I said, you need to study your butt off. I know I'm repeating myself, guys, but I repeat myself. I say the same things in every video, by the way, because it's fundamentals. When you see a great player or anybody great at something, when you see them practicing, they do the same things over and over again. It's actually kind of boring when you watch somebody great do the same things over and over and over again. I'm not saying I'm great. I'm just saying in order to be great, you need to practice the fundamentals and learn the fundamentals over and over and over again. Because when you want to teach somebody something and they have a question for you, like why is it so volatile, you can explain it to them. But if you don't have the fundamentals and just looking at the price and, oh, it's $69,000, but it's 63, that's not the way to do it, guys. You got to understand the fundamentals, and you got to understand when you save your money and you work your ass off for your money, the one thing you need to understand that the best way to save, and to me, the only way to save, is through Bitcoin. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.